Fools. Yes, we're only a few days away from Halloween. Oh, St. Hallows Eve. Samhain. It's a time where the veil between the realms is a little lighter. It's a little more likely that you can tap into something ethereal, something cosmic, Blake, something universal, something timeless, something ancient, something hidden. Do you love this time of year as much as I do?
Talking about Bohemian Grove. Did you visit? Did you get invited again this year, Brian? To go worship Moloch?
I'm talking about the fall. It's like
Ah,
getting ready for the crushing onslaught of a frozen winter. The fall, when you're saying goodbye to summer, but you're still kind of in between realms. The Halloween, the spookiness, the Dia de los Muertos, kind of, I know that's Day of the Dead, that's different, but it's really just kind of bringing you back to the infinity of life, the life cycle that it comes and goes. We all came in the same way. We're all leaving the same way. And it's just it's a magical time, Blake. That's all I'm saying. We're like a week and a
not
half
very
away
long.
from Halloween here.
Yeah, no, I agree to an extent. Depends on where I am, whether I've lived in Minnesota or Las Vegas or LA or Tennessee. Yeah, it just depends. I like having the four seasons, though. Minnesota's way too cold. So fall's nice. Yeah, it's a little kind of refreshing from the summer, and it's always welcome in Las Vegas, where it's ridiculously hot. But there's not really a fall season there. Really isn't a season. So yeah, no, it's beautiful up here. Not too hot, not too cold, but with all the seasons, it's a good time. So I'm
Excellent.
enjoying it.
Excellent.
It's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I like it.
Just kind of it's one of my favorites. But it is a strange time that we live in, Blake. It is Thursday, October 19th, to be specific, 2023, to timestamp this episode of the show. I want to thank everybody who is in the waiting room already, jumping into the comment section. Kenneth and Deb and all the rest of you. Please leave your comments. We love incorporating these into the program as
Glad
we
Deb
can.
could get here early so we could be our usual late or what do they call that? Casually late, fashionably late. Yes, we're always about 5-10 minutes late, as Kenneth has pointed out. Yes.
By the
Great to
way,
meet you
Blake,
guys. Yes.
okay, yes, it is possible that that happens more often than we would prefer. That being said, Blake, wow, there goes the volume. That just popped in 5 minutes later. How do you feel about potentially doing an evening show or a night show? Like, how does as we're considering these things, you have the gears of time behind you
Right.
with this new background, and it's just got me thinking. It's starting to show off in a very contemplative moment for me, if you haven't noticed.
Okay. It depends. Yeah, the night shows I'm probably not going to be 100% sober, but I'm okay with that. It all depends. Might be on a little weed and wine, but we'll see. Sometimes that's fun.
All
But
right. Well, we'll table that as a potentiality that could occur. Kenneth says that's not past his bedtime. That would be good. Anyhow, so here are the topics we're going to cover today. Leave your comments, as I mentioned. Follow Blake at thenextlevelnews.com, his main website, and on Twitter X, he is at TV's Blake Walley. Make sure you check out the Agree to Disagree show. That's what this is. My name is Brian Engelman, and this is the New American Media. So find all three of those things on any platform and subscribe, because we're on the verge of being silenced by a couple of these platforms. Join us on the other ones like Telegram, Signal, Rumble, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. We're in all the places we can think of, but it is what it is. Stream is buffering. Try to give it a refresh. Give it a hard reset on the page. See if that makes a difference. Anyway, these are the topics we're going to cover today, Blake. We're going to talk about agreeing or disagreeing to these topics. You agree or disagree that the press should be held accountable for spreading a fake Gaza story? And if they're held accountable, what does that mean? What does that even look like? What does accountability for journalism look like? Should there be universal, I don't know, punishments? Or like, what does being held accountable mean? Because we're going to dig into that. Also, the hospital bombing story, was that more likely than not Hamas with a missile that misfired? Agree or disagree with that?
yeah.
Israel bombard the border crossing So, I'm trying to read this out loud, Blake. Agree or disagree that Israel bombed border crossing so Palestinians couldn't escape? Is that something that occurred? Do you agree or disagree with that
Did
statement?
the producer go over this with you, Brian, so you could do it in rehearsal and practice? No.
It really would only take about 5 minutes more to do an actual rehearsal of this. But it's kind of fun doing it on the fly. It's like we say, let's not waste our chit chat and our banter in the pre-show. Let's jump into the show and hash it out. We'll figure it out. If there's one thing we are, it's unscripted. We put a couple of topics and we have a couple of articles and videos attached, but it really is just a bullet point rough outline, and we color in the rest. We hope we have the 64 crayons or 100 and what was it? 128 crayons.
It's been a long time since
And then you have to have the sharpener on the crayon
Oh,
box.
that was pretty innovative back in the 80s when they came out with that. I was like, wow.
The 80s were the best time to be a human, I think. 1980s were the best time to be a human. I'm sorry for anybody that missed it. I'm really sorry, but it was pretty sweet. So, but we try to keep that vibe alive in modern times. We are the link to the most perfect version of our past. Those 1980s were pretty cool in a lot of levels. Not perfect, of course, but pretty damn sweet. Also, we're going to talk about these topics. This could have really been the headline here, and I'm struggling with it. Maybe we'll start with this, and then we'll get into the meat of the never-ending story we have, the boring World War III. But Hamas supporters storming the Capitol, do they deserve 20 years in prison? Do you agree or disagree with that? That's such an interesting dynamic. Were we witnessing an insurrection? Also, Joe Biden, is he out of energy, and should he refrain from running in 24? Agree or disagree?
I also ask if he's wearing a mask. I don't know if you guys have seen the latest pictures.
Yeah, he's got Peter Griffin nut chin.
Yeah. He's a Balchinian. That's from Men in Black.
A Balchinian.
Yeah, no, that's a real line from the movie.
I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it.
I think it's the second one. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but I hope you have some videos or pictures of these Biden masks. By the way, wouldn't that be a good costume for Halloween, to be like a Biden mask that's like falling off his face? That would be a clever political outfit. And I wonder what he really looks like underneath that mask. Could you imagine? Anyway, also Sidney Powell, is she a grifter? And is she a turncoat that will take down Trump? Accusations are flying. And that's what we're going to get into on today's show. So thank you for joining the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media. Let's begin with topic number 1. All right. Yes, we're the New American Media because the old American media has failed you. We're trying to unpack the day's situations and give you some feelings about that. Deb saying that the 80s rocked, and Kenneth B is talking about that butt chin. Of course, you got to have that little dimple. I keep the goatee in there so you can't really see it. Timothy, what'd you do? He nicknamed a guy I hired Balchinigan. Balchinigan. Okay, Balchinigan. There you go. Good job, Timothy.
Brian, have I seen you clean shaven before? Do you have a big cleft there? You got a butt chin? Yeah.
Well, if I go like this, it turns into like cold water scrotum. It'll kind of
like the Biden. All right, so someday you're gonna look like the Biden. You're gonna have the.
Well, I do have a bit of a divide. I got a little peach right there, maybe. But yeah, I usually keep a little bit of scruff. Anyway, yes, that's currently the most important part of our show. Last week, on Tuesday's show, rather, Blake got into the topic of his hair. It's one of Kenneth's number one topics he loves bringing up, is Blake's long, beautiful hair, shiny, something.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
All right, it won't be much longer. I'm probably going to get it cut in the next couple of months.
Hold on. Let's think about this. Yeah. Who in the Liberty movement does like natural hair care products? Like who's? It seems like everybody has like a Jeremy's razors or something, or Jeremy's chocolates. Who does hair care?
Wrestler, he's got like the longest hair I've seen.
But is there a company that does it? Like on the right? Do we know any like Dr. Bronner's or
No,
you
we'll
know?
have to float that to Jeremy. Yeah, Jeremy Boring. We'll see.
Okay. Well, because I was going to say, like, this might be your key to an endorsement deal. If you could kind of get in with a hair care, it could be part of the show and we could start making some moolah off of that sweet, sweet endorsement money.
Right. Well, we got to take down Benny Boy Shapiro because we're not going to get into the Daily Wire with my roasting of his star analyst there. But
all right, well, let's get into the analysis of what's going on in Gaza. Blake, agree or disagree that the press should be held accountable for spreading the fake Gaza story?
Yeah, perhaps. I think, I agree. But it's really hard to say, I still don't think right to this day, this minute, this hour, that we fully know exactly what happened with that hospital that allegedly blew up, because I'm not actually sure. Is it still standing there? Was it an explosion in the parking lot? Did Israel bomb it in an aerial attack? Did Hamas misfire a rocket and that exploded? Was it in the hospital, on top of the hospital, in the park? I don't know, or just was somewhere off into the distance, but it just happened to land on the hospital. I don't think anybody actually knows.
Well, here's the question. Who was out there reporting hardcore fact one way or another that's severely in dispute at this point? Because I have my version. Here's my quick understanding of what it is, and we can feel free to break it apart, or especially in the comments, tell me if this information has since been debunked. Let's unpack it together and figure it out. Okay. My understanding is that it was reported as Israel did this and killed 500 in this hospital. That's how I heard it reported. Yeah. Not by everyone, but like the general thrust of it was roughly Israel bombed hospital, 500 dead, evil demons. Then I heard Hamas digs up their aid packages, the ones that are supposed to be transporting water. They take the pipes, they turn them into makeshift potato gun rocket fired bullshit. Then they launch it places. They have no idea where it's going to go because it's rinky-dink backyard bullshit. Just like shooting potato guns after, 7 shots of Fireball in a 12-pack of Miller Lite in a backyard barbecue. You start letting these potato guns go, you kind of have no idea what's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to go down. And the only difference is, are you out in the middle of a pasture with no neighbors, or do you have 100 different homes within striking distance when you're being so reckless? So anyway, my understanding was a missile makeshift from the aid where they dug up the water pipes. Instead of helping the people survive, they're turning them into weapons of war. Here's my understanding. Yeah. They shot it. It exploded roughly somewhere near above the hospital. Shrapnel and pieces came down into the parking lot, injuring a number of people, somewhere between 20 and 120. As it was reported as 500, it could be. But it was blamed on Israel in the beginning. But now it seems like the forensics that have investigated it have time-stamped it and looked at it, and the agencies that do this thing the best seem to all be in uniformly the camp of that being close to the story. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. What did you hear?
I've heard multiple different angles. In fact, one of these high-level people in Israel took credit for it on Twitter and then deleted their post.
Do you have a screen grab of that by chance?
Benny Boy, who's going to be a frequent subject of this show, I'm sure, at least during this segment, was quick to say, hey, I think this was done. Obviously, he's not going to give an inch on, Israel maybe possibly doing it. So he said that was a misfire, which sounds strange to me. I guess it's possible, but it seems, more unlikely because Israel has bombed hospitals in the past. whether they're justifiable or not, whether Hamas had weapons stored there, what have you, they have blown up hospitals. So the idea, and there's also another thing when you mentioned the rockets. Yeah, the Hamas rockets, that's kind of one of my things I've criticized for years, is that Hamas, they're like bottle rockets. They're not bottle rockets, but they're glorified fireworks. They do some damage, but they rarely like kill anybody. I don't know if they actually have. Like if somebody got hit in a direct attack, it could probably kill them. But the one time all of a sudden they have some weapon of mass destruction, like a real serious weapon that all of a sudden blows up 500 people. But I'm also hearing that it was the parking lot, or maybe there was only 50 people. We can go into all the different angles, but like I said, I don't think we can definitively say exactly how it happened, who did
and
it.
Then on that point, maybe maybe that there's fog of war. You know why? Because there's always going to be fog of war. Getting hung up on any of these particulars, we can talk about the exact numbers, the hospital. Did it come from right? Did it come from left? People die in wars, which is why people like you and I are traditionally against them, because they're bullshit. This is not how humans need to be existing. There have to be better ways to resolve our conflicts. What the hell was the second point I was going to make there? Because I actually came up with an idea I do want to share with you, but this isn't the exact time or place. I mentioned it on Tuesday's show. I want to get to it. But anyway, it's, I don't know, Blake.
Well, I can start it, and then we can pick up, because we got a lot of angles. I got a lot of different.
You know what? I remembered my thought, and I'll be super brief about it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, whether it's today, is it 500 people at the hospital? Is it babies? Is it 40 babies? Was it this? Was it that? Was there actually rape? Was there only one rape? Were there only 10 rapes? Were there only 100 dead? Were there? We didn't argue, but we discussed last week. I believe the numbers, roughly 1,400 were killed in the Hamas surprise terrorist attack that broke the Abraham Accords wide open. But on Tuesday, it was like, well, isn't that 7? I thought it was reported as 7. Well, no, why is it 1,400? At some point, it's just war. And I really don't give a shit about 700 to 1,400 dead babies, 10 of them, 40, none. Oh, we got to have the perfect amount of rapes. Please don't take that out of context. The story of how many and tit for tat, it's going to be fog of war for a long time. The big picture is people are dying on multiple sides of this conflict, and this needs to stop. This should stop. But what does stopping it mean? Do you have to root out the problem of Hamas to get it to stop? Because they will not stop trying to kill their neighbors. That's the conversation that's being had right now. What will actually stop this? So anyway, I was just comparing the different numbers and getting hung up on the particulars, Blake. Does that make sense?
No, that's fair. And actually, I think I can get a rough or reasonably close idea of the number of deaths. Actually, let me pull up this one out of ABC News, saying Israel Gaza live updates. It says Israeli military has the green light to move into Gaza. But here we go. At least 1,400 people have died in Israel, according to the authorities, and 3,785 have died in Gaza, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. So, yeah, that's a significant loss of life. And just that was what, October 7th was the big one. And then we don't know how many people are injured and hospitalized or what have you. And there's going to be a lot to go through on Gaza, because that place has been leveled. So they're going to have to go through and dig through all that rubble to get a real accurate count. And we probably won't know that for quite a while until things die down. And I don't know when that's going to happen. It's pretty heated right now. But, oops, that's the wrong one. Where was I going?
Balchinian.
Yeah.
That guy looks Balchinian.
Yeah, there is the Balchinian. We're going to get to that. So just everybody hold your horses there.
It's Peter Griffin, too.
Right. This is going to be a while. But this is where it comes from, the Federalist, which is, one of my go-tos, that, and as well as the Gateway Pundit. But they are very looking at one side of it, and that's totally fine. I like to get different perspectives on all of it. But according to this Federalist article, press must be held accountable for fake Gaza story that instigated violence worldwide. And they're going with the idea that this was definitely done by Hamas. So we know that this is weird because they're saying, we know corporate media are biased, but the reporting on Gaza shows they're willing to be propagandists, even if their false reports are likely to get people killed. So,
and let me add one point here, if I may.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that gets people killed is when these death cult organizations like Hamas, when they hide in schools, when they operate out of hospitals. It's a tale as old as time. Go back as many decades as the bombs have been blasting. They participate in these buildings thinking, ha, 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 can't get me here. I'm safe. It's like you're playing tag and you have your hand on the oak tree. Ha, ha, ha. And you're reaching out. You're just kind of punching with your left hand. You're like, can't get me, can't get me, can't get me. So, if we're talking propaganda, anything involving schools and hospitals always has been propaganda. How dare they fire something at me in this sacred place, in this mosque, in this holy place of worship that I've also converted into a military installment. That's the part they always leave out. Oh, well, we're shooting at you. We're trying to kill you from these buildings, but how dare you come get me when I'm touching home base? My hand is on the oak tree, Blake.
Okay, well, what about it? Let's look at the other side. What if it's Israel blowing up a hospital and going, oh no, they had weapons caches in it. There were terrorists inside the hospitals. Yeah, that's why it was justifiable. We're the good guys. Maybe. So it can be looked at on both sides. I don't know. I try to stay neutral on this issue because yes, it is fog of war and there's propaganda on both sides.
Well, Kenneth says, war, huh? What is it good for? MJ, welcome, MJ Sedona. She says, bottom line, the world is seeing a weak United States. Regardless of what's happening, we've never been weaker. We are operating, somebody else has the joystick here. We do not have the joystick on America.
That doesn't look like a powerful leader right there.
Oh, good Lord. Deb says they're just now figuring this out. Mainstream media propaganda has been costing lives forever. Yes, but thank God we have the internet now. They don't get to lie to us like they always have. Imagine how they used to always lie to us when we couldn't catch them in their bullshit. Could you imagine, Blake, how things used to be before the internet and in those 80s, in those wonderful, we could talk about Iran-Contra. There were plenty of scandals in the 80s, of course, but the biggest one was the Cold War that thankfully never turned hot. We survived the 80s without a hot World War III. So that was a big win despite Iran-Contra, despite all the stuff in South America, Central America, U.S. meddling all over the globe, and the continuous strife in Israel region in general. But we did avoid that hot World War. But now you're hearing all the opposite. You're hearing that it just seems inevitable that something is coming. Something is on the way. We just don't know exactly what the target is. And that's a shitty place to be living mentally. This is a strange new phase we've entered. For people that just want to live and let live and try to coexist peacefully and not force our things on other people and not have them have the opportunity to force it on us. The kind of the libertarian mantra, Blake.
Well, it's just good in general that we have social media and then anybody can put their opinion out there. And then hopefully it's a battlefield for ideas. Then we also have the problem of one side trying to, censor the other side or what have you. But it's still good that, that X now was Twitter is still a place where anybody can really say anything. And then we'll let the people decide. And then now we've got community notes to police things.
Community notes are very helpful. That's something that we've always needed. And it's something in various forms that I've always... I don't have the tech acumen, but I always knew that this was going to be the natural evolution of the interactive newspaper. It's not really about the article that comes out from these sites. It's about how you get ratioed in the comments if you're off base. And it's like asking for the wisdom of the group. If you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and you say, you know what, I'm going to phone a friend, or, You know what? I'm just going to ask the entire studio audience, what do you think? And it's like, if you're getting ratioed by the entire audience, it might be helpful to listen to that. So yeah, community notes are very helpful. That whole concept in general, it's a major evolution in the process of just trying to determine what's accurate, what's speculation, what's pure conjecture, what's unlikely, what's proven, what's totally debunked. I think becoming a savvy connoisseur of media, it's one of the most important talents that we need to hone in on. We need to practice that. We need to encourage more of that and level up in that.
Right, and it's hard to really trust a lot of these outlets too, the corporate news. So there's not a lot of independent voices that are free to express things how they want to. They are under certain pressure or under certain sponsors to carry a certain view. And as I was saying earlier, yeah, it'd be great, Jeremy Boring or working at the Daily Wire or having some, backup on that. But I mean, there's a bias there. And that's not always going to be, or InfoWars or any of these places. You're going to have to, pick up a certain narrative somewhere, or you're not going to be invited into the group. So that's just, but it opens the door for other, opportunities. And we're all just trying to, find our own way. And there's, people like us who are, volunteered to get involved in journalism because we know we're not being told the truth. Whether it's, the right side or the left side or what have you, sometimes the truth is in between, and we try to find that and just tell it like it is, and not have to lean one way or another because, Pfizer's our sponsor or we're getting big money from, certain groups.
Deb from SAC in the group here, she says it's a double-edged sword because the internet is used to spread propaganda too. But now we have different streams to access and find the truth somewhere out there. Yeah, it's up to us to kind of, when you start seeing the most reliable people settle in on a generally accepted narrative, that gets you closer to a degree of comfort thinking that the story as reported in that camp is accurate. Because once somebody leaves the reservation, once somebody goes on their rumspringa and they knowingly start pushing lies, we've seen it before. Are there any famous cases, Blake, where there are people from like the liberty movement, from independent media that we thought were good, and then we totally busted them lying? Getting a story wrong is very different from intentionally pushing propaganda. Like, is there any name that comes to mind, people that had their credibility and nothing other than that, and then they threw it away? It was taken from them because of their own actions.
Yeah, sometimes maybe, yeah, like sometimes with like Steven Crowder or Glenn Beck, maybe, or to me, Ben Shapiro. I think Ben Shapiro needs to be on the hot seat in a big way right now for what he's saying. So I've even called him.
I think you might have named 3 pro-Israeli outlets right there.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying it's all because of that. Shapiro definitely is. I mean, he's definitely the standout Zionist of the pack.
And what is the definition? And what is the definition of Zionist again? I just want to make sure we have the right definition for that word.
That's the faction of Judaism that's believes in their nationalistic government over there, and that they should have this particular homeland in Palestine, or if we want to call it that, in that region of
you wouldn't call it Israel, where Bethlehem.
Yeah, no, it's Israel. But yeah, it's depending. It was Israel, then it was Palestine, and now it's Israel again, or it's always been Israel. It's been there for thousands of years. It's the ancient homeland. So
what does press being held accountable look like here? Who did the worst job putting their fake news out as fact? Which outlets are really losing credibility, and we have to be cautious of everything we see from them? Like, what was some of the worst reporting, and how do we hold them accountable in this day and age, other than not giving him clicks and advertising dollars.
All right. Well, it depends. So according to this Federalist article, he's criticizing the Wall Street Journal, which he gets, saying that the blast at Gaza hospital killed hundreds. And then the second paragraph credulously cites that Hamas officials are blaming Israel for the attack, saying 500 were killed before citing Israeli denials. And then people have been blowing holes in Hamas's credulous claims about the attack for hours. And then saying, according to American intelligence officials, which we've learned to be very, very skeptical of, they say the blast was caused by a Hamas rocket that fell short, validating Israeli claims about what happened. Further, the decimation of the hospital cited by the Wall Street Journal didn't really happen either. The rocket appears to have hit a parking lot near the hospital, and the casualties are far fewer than Hamas officials claimed. But he can say that the Wall Street Journal's coverage wasn't as bad as the New York Times, where they were saying it worse. Israeli strike kills hundreds in the hospital, according to Palestinians. So again, we don't totally know. But I don't think he entirely totally know. We don't exactly know what happened, and we do know. Well, I can go into some of the other details.
Well, let me pause there real quick, because it hasn't. I was thinking about this over the past couple of days.
Sure.
Okay, people from Montreal who feel a certain type of way.
Okay.
How much leeway would they be given to attack Washington, D.C.? Like, let's just imagine there's a portion of the people of Montreal who are hell-bent on holding grudges against Washington, D.C. Of course, the Montreal Expos were taken out of Major League Baseball, and they were put into D.C., the Washington Nationals now. And they hold a grudge. They're angry, and they will never let it go. That was their baseball team. I was thinking about, like, could Cleveland just bomb and kill the people of Baltimore because they stole our Cleveland Browns? It's technically a little wonky of an analogy because we kept our team name and they became the Baltimore Ravens. So they didn't technically steal our team, but or maybe the Colts, they left Indianapolis. Could the people of Indianapolis go bomb the people of Baltimore? Can they go bomb Indianapolis because the Colts went over there, and they'll never get over it? That's essentially what Hamas is, right? They're like, land changed hands in 1948. I'm never going to get over this. I'm going to bomb you indefinitely. We will never agree.
What kind of bomb? I mean, I guess they've had like some suicide.
Destroy,
bombs.
wipe off the map, exterminate, like cockroaches. Like in the most final, vile, we killed 1,400 people at however it exactly happened. The bodies did stack up. Like in the most gruesome, doesn't matter how you killed them, you killed them. You could electrocute them, you could drown them, you could torture them, you could shoot them, you could burn them, you could bomb them. It doesn't matter. A death is a death. I'm not getting caught up in the 7 babies, 4 babies, 40 babies. I don't care. It's a lot of death. I just kind of had that thought. Like, at what point can you just never stop bombing and attacking and trying to kill people because Baltimore lost their Colts team and they're in Indianapolis now? Or, Montreal Expos are gone and you took them. And you know what? Until I get the Montreal Expos back, to hell with you, death to you, your little devil. And that's the big devil, Major League Baseball. So we're just going to have terrorist attacks all across baseball because. All right,
so what if Baltimore went over to Indianapolis or Cleveland and decided that they were going to force we're going to force all the Cleveland fans to live in ever decreasing tiny little ghettos, and it was an apartheid state, and the people of Cleveland could never be equal, and they had basically an open air prison, and the Cleveland people were pissed, and maybe they tried to smuggle in weapons, and then the Baltimore people said, no, you can't do that anymore, and would punish them, and if they ever fired rockets, then they would just fire. They would carpet bomb the ghettos of Cleveland and blow up Cleveland Browns fans.
Well, there's also Detroit, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Youngstown, Cincinnati. There's a lot of other states there. Egypt. Oh,
Sure.
geez. Name a few for me.
Jordan,
Jordan.
Syria.
There's no reason to be in this open air apartheid hellscape. Just go into any of these other places. But none of them are helping. None of those neighbors are caring. But they don't get any scrutiny. But they're doing the same exact thing that the other side is doing. So it's just I don't know, man. I keep
they
thinking
deserve
of
to
different
just be
perspectives.
exterminated, and they can't fight back, and it's just like they're just going to be imprisoned until and live as the inferior underclass. It's pretty racist over there in a lot of ways in the apartheid, where they're just looked down on, and they're not equal, and they can't intermarry or integrate at all. It's definitely it's very clear there's two classes of people there, and it doesn't mix well. And I don't blame some of the people from Gaza for being angry. I would too if you had to grow up there and live under that state.
So here's another theory I had.
It's an excuse to use violence, but I don't know how else you resolve it. So it's a major issue, and it is both sides to me. I don't think they've gotten a fair shake. But
some say they haven't gotten a fair shake because they haven't stopped blowing things up since 1948.
Yeah, isn't that always an excuse? Right, but then they came in and took their land. So Baltimore comes in, takes Cleveland land, pushes you into little tiny ghettos, and nothing can go in and out. And since there's a few rocket attacks, they say, "Oh, well, you can't have supplies. We got to dig through all of that stuff." And no, you can't have your own access to resources. You can't have your own water or whatever. It's all going to come through us. I mean, it's not a good position to be in.
So here's my other theory, my other concept that has been bouncing around my head. I'm not saying I'm in favor of this, but I'm interested in hashing it out. So if Islam and Judaism can't get along in Israel, and people keep complaining.
No, it's not just whoa. It's not. It's the Zionists.
Wait, what?
It's the Zionists. When we played that video, so it's the Zionist Jews that don't play well with the other ones, but the Orthodox Jews, the Hasidic Jews, they are scattered everywhere. They live peacefully in some of those areas, and they always have. They live peacefully in Iran, live peacefully in Syria. If you had those old school Jews, the old Hebrews living in there, they might be able to get along. And it's not because they have that homeland. They would just exist in Palestine.
I might have missed the point there. What was you were trying to clarify?
Well, I'm saying that,
what did I say that was off?
Plenty of Jews that live in the Middle East, and they live peacefully. But the Zionist Jews live in Israel. That is a different national.
Zionists believing that they should have a place to live. They got a piece of land, and they got a country.
Yes. So they don't play as nicely with their neighbors, but the rest of them, they don't. The
neighbors that are killing them.
Well, they're killing them too. Who took the land, dude? You don't
Nobody
think
when we were alive.
Israelis? You don't think they killed Palestinians? You think
Nobody
it's all
took it since we've been born?
They're just so peaceful. No, they went in. They took that land and pushed them all out of there. You don't think that would piss them off?
So they're justified in killing.
I'm not saying it's justified to fight back, but you're acting so one-sided on this. You don't think there's
one-sided? I mean, there was peace for years until Hamas did what Hamas always does. Once again, the phrase I said on Tuesday that I thought was really appropriate. It said, "Never waste a good opportunity to waste a good opportunity." Like a lot of the failures in Gaza are because they keep choosing violence. They don't want to improve their land. They want a constant focus of enemy and rage and outrage. That's the target.
Zionist propaganda.
Zionist, once again, being somebody who is in favor of Jews having the state of Israel, the country of Israel.
Right, with a different philosophy on how they run their government and their policy. It is not.
Well, every country has a different policy. That means nothing. What's the distinction?
Well, not being nice to their neighbors. You think the Hasidic Jews and the Orthodox Jews obviously are different than the Zionist Jews, Brian. And we played that video from that rabbi.
Well,
And
I saw a guy say something.
I've got interviews with the rabbi in Philadelphia when I was there at the DNC in 2016. He outlines all of that stuff. They don't recognize that homeland and that occupation. They don't support the Israeli government. So, yeah, you can be Jewish and not agree with that Israeli government.
So it's occupation, and people want them to leave. And if they don't leave, they should be.
What, Brian?
I don't know, 1,400 10 days ago, like one day. That's the other option here.
That's awful. So what should we do? Should we just carpet bomb and commit genocide against all?
Well, I had an idea. Here's the idea that I had.
You never like to answer those questions. I know you're
I got the idea. Here's my thought.
Right.
Okay, so let's just say I don't know. Is Hamas? Do you boil it down and say Islam? Let's say Islam and Judaism can't get along in that region. Hamas and the state of Israel, Netanyahu and Mahmoud Abbas, whoever the hell it is, whatever that is, they just can't get along. They can't play in the sandbox with each other. Okay, so if the conditions in Gaza are so deplorable that revolution must occur, okay, and let's say that Islam and Judaism has been they've fallen short of the ideals that we demand as a human race. Okay, so what if it turns into a Christian theme park where Israel is now, and then the Jews and the Palestinians all have to go into Gaza together? You can't play nice in your sandbox together? Then you know what? You're moving in here, and we're going to take entire city blocks down. We're going to rebuild maybe your Agenda 2030, these smart cities, well insulated, energy efficient. Smart city doesn't have to be evil, but, so then for them to get along, they need to build equal facilities to raise the level of their own society in Gaza. Now they both live in Gaza side by side or intertwined, but you build it exactly the same. Everything you build on one side, you build it on the other side. The post office, the airport, the other thing, the transportation, you do the roads, the infrastructure, the water, and you don't let the terrorists dig it up to fire bottle rockets at you. What about that? A Christian theme park. But here's the thing for Christians, they don't get to keep any of that money. All of the revenue has to be spent on rebuilding Gaza. So now the Jews don't get the money. The Christians don't get the money. Gaza gets the money, but that's Jews and the people of Palestine. It's wacky. I don't know. Could that work?
I don't know. So if you're going to bring in a Christian nation there, that's somehow going to be the, I don't know. They're going to be the good guys now.
Well, if Islam and Judaism can't get along, let Christians try it for a minute. Yeah,
but they do get along. They get along fine in Syria. They get along fine in Iran.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about Israel.
Right?
We're talking about Israel, and Israel is a place.
Okay, so you think if Israel would say, hey, Gaza, we're going to expand your land. We're going to give you more opportunity and this and that. You think they would get along better?
How's it going to get worse?
I don't know. Well, I mean, would they do that? It's their land has shrunk significantly, and it shrinks like if you look at the map,
it's changed hands, and Israel's given back land as of recently.
Brian, you've seen how they keep getting a smaller and smaller area that they keep getting enclosed.
It's not always a contraction.
Every time they fight back,
it's not always a contraction. Land was given back recently over the past 20 years.
Palestinians gained more land in the last 50 years?
Weren't there a couple occasions in 20? Was it 20? I forget the exact year, but there were a couple of times where settlements were removed, concessions were made in the past 2 or 3 decades.
Smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller area. And so there's most densely populated area on the planet.
That's not accurate either. That's a repeated lie. That's
Gaza? Oh, you don't think Gaza is not one of the most densely populated areas on the planet? You saying that's a lie?
Oh, it's dense, but the fact that it's reported as the most dense place, yeah, that's not even remotely accurate, is my understanding. Oh, it's really? It's a repeated piece of propaganda, but it's
okay.
It's
well, where is the most densest areas then? So no,
Dreamer says you guys thread the needle nicely between truth journalism and keeping it interesting. Thanks, Dreamer. But we're just trying to unpack this stuff. We hear things and we don't know if the stuff we're hearing is accurate. If we can easily debunk some stuff, that's what we're here to do. I don't give a shit if you buy my vacuum cleaner. I'm not selling you anything. I'm trying to understand what's more likely to be true. Is we're all just trying to figure out what's important and worthy of our time.
Gaza is one of maybe Gaza or just areas in Delhi and India. But I mean, it is easily, if it's not number one, it's probably in the top 3 or 4. It's by square footage and population. Absolutely. Always has been. That's not propaganda.
Well, it might not be the most. It's
being repeated. It might not be number one. It might be Delhi, India might have more people per square mile, whatever. But it's that close.
All right. So back to the accountability on the fake story. What I guess.
Okay, well, this story is trying to say, it's beyond tiresome to point out the media are biased and wrong, but this is a whole new level. But it's, he's kind of biased in himself by saying that this is, who is he to say that he's got the right, point of view on this? So he's saying it simply can't be tolerated, blah, blah, blah. Media persist in reporting pro-Hamas propaganda. They deserve to start acutely feeling pain from subscribers and advertisers alike. So he's criticizing the media, but yet, we don't quite know yet. So I'll just point out to some of these other articles here. We got even from the United Nations website, UN chief horrified by strike on Gaza hospital as warring sides blame each other. And I can just point to the very first line here. Both sides are blaming each other. Health Ministry is saying Hamas-controlled enclave blames the Israeli military. Israeli Defense Forces are, according to their intelligence information, it was rockets fired by Islamic Jihad militants towards Israel were responsible, and they just went off course. We can take a look at this one. Biden was in Israel, suggesting the Gaza hospital bombing was done by the other team, but adds there's a lot of people out there that are not sure. So I don't know there either. There's several different ways, several different narratives. I love this tweet here from the Jackson Hinkle with that little Benny boy. BB's bitch, Benny boy. Hamas bombed their own hospital, I swear. Which seems odd, but it could happen. And I called out Benny Boy, said Ben has uncritically and reflexively parroted every talking point from the Zionists, wants us to believe that Israel didn't blow up the hospital like they have many times before, but that it must have been a misfired rocket from Hamas. Ben is a liar that should be fired, but I only said that because that's what he said in his words. Is that if you work in the media and uncritically and reflexively parrot genocidal, Jew-hating terrorist liars Hamas, you should be fired. So look how he amplifies the anti-war and this demonizing his opponents, and then trying to suggest that if you basically don't agree, you're a Jew hater.
You got a little animated at the end, but Hamas, they do hate Jews, like. Right? There's no
Zionist hates Hamas. Right?
You mean the people who are the people who are in the state of Israel who want to continue existing hate the people that are trying to kill them.
People
what a bunch of bad guys they must be. Wow.
Okay,
how dare they?
Well, wait. Zionists, the Israel, they were the occupiers, right? And they moved all those people.
Who said right? I didn't say right to that. Who says right? Who's occupying what? The land goes back and forth all the time.
No, but it only goes one way. It only goes one direction, with Palestine, the Palestinians getting smaller sections of land. It only goes one way. There's never been a time where I believe
there were multiple concessions in the past 30 years. I'll have to pull it up.
Okay. All right. Well,
settlements were removed from the bank, different concessions to try to, in a peace agreement, promptly effed up by Hamas blowing more shit up. Yes, I think there were a couple over the past 20 years, but yeah, I mean, you've said it about the area. Well, the Jews used to live there, and then there were people, what'd you say, from Palestine or from
Yeah.
Gaza who so I mean I don't know the word Zionist to me, it's like that's like saying American. Like we were born into a country. Yeah, well, how did you get it? You know what happened about 7,000 years ago? You know what happened 2,000 years ago, 200 years ago, 20 years ago? It's like, I don't know, man. I was born into this. I just prefer not to kill more people, and I prefer not to be attacked. I don't know. When I hear Zionist, if the definition is someone who was born into a country and would like to keep the country.
Here we go, Brian. Here we go. Zionism is a nationalist movement that emerged in the 19th century to espouse support for the establishment of a homeland for the Jewish people in Palestine, a region roughly corresponding to the land of Israel in Jewish tradition. Following
In
the establishment of
Palestine, where are
Israel,
you at? Where are you reading that?
this is out of Wikipedia.
Ah, Wikipedia. Okay.
Well, I can. You want me to pull it up on an encyclopedia?
No. I'm interested in defining the terms properly. Yes.
Right. So, and I've said before, this isn't like the the Hebrews of the Old Testament. Some of these are just like Trotsky. It's like Russian Jews that have gone into Israel and are claiming that land, even though they have no bloodline connection to their ancestral or to their ancestors, which is fine. I don't care. I just like to see the people get along, and I'm sick of all of the war and all the fighting. I would like to see peace, but these two factions do not get along, and I'm skeptical of the Zionists. And it is not the same as just what the regular Jews are. So I'm not anti-Jew by any means,
but they must immediately get out of Israel.
No, those are the Zionist Jews. So okay, well, let's
to dissolve the entire state of Israel is the only solution.
Okay, how about
final
this?
solution?
Whoa! You're putting words in my mouth.
You're calling them occupiers as if they're occupying stolen land is the thing that.
Well, they gave them that land, and they haven't been that nice to their neighbors there. Yes, it has been a continuous problem. So why don't we listen to an actual?
And Egypt and Jordan haven't been nice to their neighbors either because they're
Brian's always gonna make some excuse for the Zionists.
No, none of the neighbors like the violent terrorism that's
Right.
infected that area since 1948. Nobody wants those people in their backyard. Not Egypt, not Jordan. They are the ones keeping them in an apartheid, won't let them get out and go to anywhere else, kept in an open air cage. These are the other neighbors that are not Israel, and they get none of the blame. If I'm misunderstanding that,
let's just murder them all. I don't know.
Strange to me.
Right. Okay.
It's like only blame the Jews all the time. It's like there's other parties at play, and they
Brian, you never give an inch. Your talking points are pretty much identical to any like conservative neocon. So it's interesting, but that's fine. It makes this banter fun. But why don't we listen to an actual Jew describe the situation?
I thought you said this was going to be the response to the other video I sent. Now you're going to play them backwards?
Oh, do you want to play that one? I don't care. Go ahead. Play whatever video
I thought you said you were going to play them both. I don't have it in front of me.
No, we're talking about the Zionists and the difference. Why don't we actually listen to somebody who's been at that homeland, who's born and raised as a Jew, and who's been in Israel? Why don't we listen to that? Because that would know more than either one of them.
Are you also going to put someone on
who more than you and I do?
Well, no, not necessarily. That's one side. That's one side of it, Blake. Are you going to play somebody born in that area who wants to keep the country as it is? There's plenty of people with that opinion, but you're only playing one side. You're not being intellectually honest with that.
Go ahead and bring it up. Get your video up. I don't care. I have nothing to hide. I'm not picking a side here. I'm trying to stay neutral. Just call it like it is.
We have a side. We probably both have a bit of a side here. I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. You're pretty clear where you're at.
You've never given an inch on that to even admit just a smidgen that maybe Israel crossed the line or did something wrong. It's always 100% on one side to me. But
I don't love any of these countries over there. I just want them to grow up and act like adults. I want them to be peaceful and get along. I don't.
Yeah, so do I. Right. Okay. Well, then let's listen to this guy. If I can get this to run, and it doesn't appear that it will, of course not. So let's reboot it.
Make sure you're following Blake on Twitter/X. He is at TV's Blake Walley, and he's at The Next Level News. You're watching the Agree to Disagree show on the New American Media.
You want me to support Israel?
Thank you. All right.
My Israel? Fuck no, never.
Oh, Brian, you might have to run it because my internet is not going to allow it. But will Brian allow this propaganda to be played?
Let me ask the crowd: should I play Blake's propaganda? If he sends it over, should I play Blake's propaganda? Deb saying this is a fun game of ping pong. Open-minded banter, please. You two. Deb wants me to stop pivoting off of Blake's points, and we do have very smart viewers. We absolutely do.
Fuck yeah.
It's really not playing? It usually buffers in 10 seconds for you.
Absolutely not. Ew, disgusting. Israel. We talking about the same Israel? My Israel? It's my Israel, by the way. It's mine. I own it. You see, it's my birthright. For those of you who don't know, because I was born a Jewish man, I own the land of Palestine and Israel.
All right, Brian, you're going to have to play it. I sent you the link. It's only 3 minutes, and then you can play whatever countervailing view. I don't really care. Right. All right. Yeah, Brian's afraid to throw the propaganda in there because it might mess with his points.
Well, there's no, like you said, there's no countervailing view. It's everything is this particular perspective, and that's it's one-sided.
Yeah, sure.
I don't have anything to add because I'm not born there. I'm not from there. So like I'm just like, can we listen to some other people that disagree with this guy? I found the clip.
Yeah. Why don't you stop the video wherever you want, and then you make your point if you disagree. I don't care. Go for it.
Yeah, it'd be my first time hearing this. This is what, Stu Peters?
No, it's not. He just shared the link. But it's not Stu Peters. He's just showing a voice from somebody that would know, from a Jew.
All right, I got a double click. Here we go.
Israel. All right.
You want me to support Israel? My Israel? Fuck no. Absolutely not. Ew, disgusting. Israel. We're talking about the same Israel? My Israel? It's my Israel, by the way. It's mine. I own it. You see, it's my birthright. For those of you who don't know, because I was born a Jewish man, I own the land of Palestine and Israel. It is my fucking blood right. That's not me saying that. That's the state of Israel, by the way. They told me, hey, man, because you're technically a Jew, Israel's yours. It's always been yours. Come on down. Come see the homeland. This isn't me being a dick. This is the state of Israel literally saying this to me. If you are a Jewish person, they offer you what's called birthright. Birthright. The opportunity to come to Israel for free on the Israeli dime and see Israel. It's a timeshare pitch.
All right. What's the problem with that particular point? I'll ask you, Blake.
Nothing. I don't know why you stopped it.
Well, what's his point? Why does he bring that up as if it's a
saying that according to the Zionists, that is his birthright to be in that land.
And people coming on down, and it's on the dollar of the state of Israel or the country of Israel.
Yeah, they'll pay for it. Yeah.
But what's his point? What is he like? Haha, gotcha.
Why don't you watch the video? Why are you stopping me to ask the point? Why don't you?
Because you said stop it when you have something to add. And
you don't have something to add. You're asking me a question, right?
Okay, I didn't know if there was a point to like that being.
Yeah, there is a whole point, but we are only 1/6 of the way through it.
Okay, I don't get the point.
Yours. It's always been yours. Come on down. Come see the homeland. This isn't me being a dick. This is the state of Israel literally saying this to me. If you are a person, they offer you what's birthright. Birthright. The opportunity to come to Israel for free on the Israeli dime and see Israel. It's a
just whatever Israel does with Israel's dime, who cares? That was my only point.
Timeshare pitch? It's a fucking timeshare pitch. They want you to come see the city, dance in Tel Aviv, eat some kebabs, kick some Palestinians out of their homes, and then they'll try and get you to move there.
This guy's really sanctimonious and disingenuous, but let's let him continue.
And they'll do it like this pitch, like it's family, it's unity, it's an Israeli homeland. Nah, guys, it's an apartheid state. It's the greatest shame of the Jewish people. It's disgusting. You want me to condemn terrorists? Easy. I condemn the state of Israel and I condemn Hamas, the terrorist organization supported by the state of Israel. That was.
All right. Can we unpack that? That's one of the biggest claims, that Israel funds Hamas. What do we know about that? Like what is proven for sure about that? We heard the same that Israel was behind 9/11. Like what do we know, and what's being thrown around that we can debunk? Because that's such a key moment right there.
Okay, I think I actually do have something in there about that. I'm gonna have to.
I'll give you a
find
second.
that.
Let me just play. I'll rewind. I'll play his words one more time just to make sure we're on the same
Israeli
point.
homeland. Nah, guys, it's an apartheid state. It's the greatest shame of the Jewish people. It's disgusting. You want me to condemn terrorists? Easy. I condemn the state of Israel and I condemn Hamas, the terrorist organization supported by the state of Israel.
All right, supported by the state of Israel. What can we say about that?
All right, let's. If we have to stop there, and I'm gonna have to post this.
We can get back to it if
People, okay. Well, we should get back to that. I would like to just watch that video, but anyone who wants to thwart the this is nuance, bro. Saying it's never about Hamas. Hamas was a pretext. That's why Netanyahu also said that bolstering Hamas was part of their strategy to thwart a Palestinian state, according to Haaretz. And people have suggested that Hamas was created to go against the PLO. If we remember the 80s. PLO is a big deal, Palestinian Liberation, which are gone, and now it's Hamas. And then here is here's from Haaretz.
And so wait, just real quick, that it's hard to read the screen, but you said it's been asserted. Some people say that Israel created Hamas. Was that?
Here's that a WikiLeaks Israeli Defense Intelligence Chief back in 2007. Israel would be happy if Hamas took over Gaza, because then the IDF could then deal with Gaza as a hostile state, going on to downplay significance of Iran and Gaza, as long as they don't have a port. But yeah, that's exactly what it says. They would be happy if Hamas took over, because then they could consider Gaza as a hostile state, and then they could basically retaliate, do whatever they wanted, and nobody would say anything because they're terrorists, right? So that's very interesting. There is a bit of history to that. It's like creating your own enemy, or creating your own ISIS or your moderate rebels, and then we have to go in later and fight them. So
gotcha.
One of those.
All right.
So please continue.
That was fucking easy. Hamas is a puppet of Israel, guys. It was funded by Israel. It was funded by Israel with the sole intention of destabilizing Palestine, because it's really fucking hard for your country to get its shit together when the one political party being funded by your fucking enemy is Islamic terrorists. All right? And that's literally the explicit strategy of the Israeli government. All right? So yeah, I denounce terrorism in all forms. I denounce the baby killers, the Israeli state who is bombing a city full of children right now. Gaza's mostly kids.
Bombing a city full of children. Once again, Blake, you
No,
despise
that is
when, hold on,
fact.
Blake, you despise
Right.
despise when beheading babies is brought up as pure propaganda. You despise
Right.
this baby propaganda here as well, right? Like you loathe what he just said, the sheer audacity to bring babies into the conversation. It discredits almost his entire argument because he's a pure propagandist. Or do
Well,
you
the population of Gaza, they say, is very young. Half of Gaza's population is under 18. That's an actual fact. I'm even pulling up here. Not that I really love NPR, but that's.
You pulled up the UN. You don't like the UN either.
I don't wait. I'm just there. I'm trying to find some neutral sources. I've pulled up BBC. I'm not trying to just go one way. And I pulled up the Federalist. I love Gateway Pundit. I'm pulling up different articles from.
Oh, and by the way,
sources.
I like the mixture. I do like the mixture. It's just places like the UN are one of the, kind of on a similar part of Snopes and the Onion or the Babylon Bee to me. But anyway, I digress.
Okay, well, I got to also kind of put you on the spot for, the other last week you were acting like it wasn't a big deal. Like the 40 beheaded babies wasn't a big deal, even though that was absolutely bullshit. And it was flaming propaganda that they wanted us to believe. And it turned out to be, and you were like, oh, why is that a big deal? Why is that a big deal? And then they blow up hospitals, and they're taking babies off of incubators there, like real ones. and you're carpet bombing this place. These people have nowhere to go. And even according to NPR, half of Gaza's population is under 18.
Okay, so since half of Gaza's population is under 18, him talking about babies isn't the same as Jewish people talking about babies, because that story was fake.
Well, 40 beheaded babies was a bullshit story. That was war propaganda, and that came from the highest levels of Netanyahu's office.
Were there any slaughtered babies?
Yes, that were beheaded? Absolutely. But were there actually like trying to go around and like deliberately beheading 40 babies? No, that turned out to be completely bullshit.
There was more than one beheaded baby?
And then even little Benny Boy Shapiro has to put out that, oh, here you go, you Jew haters. Here's that picture, and it looked like it was a baby that was, burnt to a crisp. And I don't know if it was real. Some people said it was AI generated, or maybe it was a baby, but it was one, and it's awful. But that doesn't give Israel an excuse to carpet bomb Gaza and blow up how many babies over there.
All right, he continues.
Strategy of the Israeli government. All right, so yeah, I denounce terrorism in all forms. I denounce the baby killers, the Israeli state who's bombing a city full of children right now. Gaza's mostly kids, guys. 65% of the population is under 24. Half of them are under 18. It is a fucking city of kids. Every time on CNN or MSNBC for the fucking shit show you're watching, in order to see all these kids get killed, every time they list the dead Gazans, half of it's just kids.
Did they list the ages of the 1,400 that were slaughtered by Hamas? Do we know the demographic?
Go ahead and bring it up. Go ahead. Feel free to share the article. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of
Israel does not have the same demographics
of people who are dead.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, they were young kids at a music festival shooting fish in a barrel. I would guess those are youthful people too. So I don't get this guy's
people that were left to die for 6 hours when they dropped the defenses. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the people likely that were shot and killed at a music festival were youthful people. So once again, I don't get his point. I don't necessarily.
You don't get his point that Gaza is densely populated and it's mostly young people.
Well, yeah. So is a music festival densely populated with young people. Well, I mean, so what? We're talking about a lot of dead people. It's bad on every level.
Okay.
He doesn't win a point there because people are youthful in Gaza. You went and attacked a music theater, you asshole. Like everybody that was in Hamas that did that. Like you attacked a music fest. Like there's. It's like that scene in Pulp Fiction, Blake, where he talks about it almost would have been worth that person keying my car to catch him key my car. There's nothing more chicken shit you can do. And just shooting fish in a barrel at a music festival, whether it's Las Vegas in your backyard or this one a week and a half ago, it's just it's trash, man. It just
makes that would be if I could really buy into it, but I still don't understand how their defenses were dropped for 6 hours and there was no rescue in the most secure place with all of the monitoring they have from the IDF.
That's a good question. We need answers on that. He continues here.
And they list the dead Gazans. Half of it's just kids. That's the fucking math. Half of it's just kids.
And do we have the math yet, Blake? Are we still missing Americans being held hostage currently right now? There's still a number of Americans held hostage by a terrorist regime or an Israeli-funded fake terrorist regime abroad.
I don't know the exact number, probably a couple dozen. Right.
I think that should have been our main story. Because there's a lot of people who got sucked up into this stuff. And who's fighting for them? Joe Biden? Asleep at the switch? Are you kidding me? I think maybe next show we do, or do a special show, I think we really need to dig into that story and figure out where we're at. One American hostage being held by Hamas is way too much. 10, 20, 30, a couple dozen, like that really, shame on me for not making sure that was in the stack, but my God, that's the story I want to cover for next time. Or maybe if we have a brief moment to find something here. Anyway, let's get through this guy's clip and we'll move on.
You want me to condemn savagery and barbarism? Fucking easily. Who's the savages? Who's the savages? The people living in the open air prison who are revolting?
The people who are at a music concert, you asshole?
Or the people running the open air prison and carpet bombing children? We are not judged by how well we
not
take
care
care
for this guy at all.
We are judged.
Of course not. No, I wouldn't think so.
And
Brian
the
is very
Israelis took taken their brother and treated him like a dog.
shoulder to shoulder with
Beaten
Benny
him
Boy
and
Shapiro.
caged him and denied him food and water and shelter and love. And now when the dog lashes out in violence and anger because the dog knows it's about to fucking die, they then use it as justification to kill their fucking brother. And when the Lord returns, it will look to the children of Israel and he will ask them, where is your brother? Do I support Israel? Fuck no, never. Fuck no, never.
There you have it. All right.
Orthodox and Hasidic Jews will feel very much the same way. They do not recognize the Zionist government of Israel, and they condemn what they are doing to their neighbors. So
you had a bombing story that would put Israel in a bad light about a border crossing. You had that one as well. That would be a good time to mention this one.
Go ahead.
About it, the headline being that Israel bombed the border crossing so Palestinians couldn't escape. I don't think we touched on that one yet, right? That was in the stack.
Yes, that sure was. And I don't even know if we
got
got
to connect to that topic as we move on, because I want to talk about the insurrection at the Capitol, which once again could have been the number one story today. We get so damn in the weeds on World War III. There's other stuff to mention, but anyway.
Right. So where do we leave off? I mean, if we're talking about retaliation, with the media, if we're going to hold them accountable, then it should be for all sides, whoever's spreading propaganda. And so this is pretty damning to see Ben Shapiro hanging out literally with Bibi Netanyahu. And then we've got this Charles Johnson, who we interviewed and who has worked.
Wait, what did you called it? Did you say it was damning?
Yeah, because how can you really believe much of what Ben Shapiro is saying about anything that happens over in Israel when he's literally with the head leader of the propaganda?
Okay, hold on. Do you say? Hold on. This is another.
So he's saying if you work in the media and uncritically,
No, I understand.
Right. If you parrot lies, but this is a man.
Hang on. Do you have that same type of energy? Do you have that same type of vitriol and energy to hate and to question and to mock and ridicule and criticize and to put on blast that you do for Tucker Carlson interviewing Donald Trump? Or is it only when the two Jews get together, that's when it's not allowed for a journalist to talk to a political candidate, a political leader?
Brian, let me finish here. Look at what's here saying here. It was Charles Johnson saying, "I wants to be fully on record. He saw Ben Shapiro receiving tasking from Israeli intelligence connections to Netanyahu when he worked next to him at Breitbart.com. He asked about it. He always said he kept close ties. Ben Shapiro is 100% Zionist, always goes along with whatever they do," which I've called out. And here he is with Bibi Netanyahu. So is this somebody I could trust for an intellectually honest opinion about what is happening over there?
I mean, to be honest, it sounds like the answer is yes, because you haven't shown anybody that defends the right for Israel to continue existing. They're Zionists because they want to keep the state of Israel. They want Israel to continue existing.
Well, they have a right to
heard
exist.
from them. We
have a
just
right
heard
to
about little
defend
Benny Boy, but I haven't heard him talk yet.
Okay,
I haven't watched
him
since this all happened.
Why don't you listen? They have a right to exist. They have a right to defend themselves, but they do not have a right to spread propaganda and murder or commit genocide against their neighbors and cover it up. How's that?
Self-defense from an attack that killed 1,400 of them is genocide and murder, not self-defense in a hot war.
Carpet bombing people in a densely populated area of Gaza, most of which had nothing to do with the attack.
Okay. So what is the bombing story of the border crossing that was in that article there?
Okay, well, I was going to get to that. We also have another one about debunking Israel's claim about Hamas bombing the Gaza hospital. We don't have to cover that one. I can move on. Here we got compelling video evidence points to Israeli airburst bombs striking the hospital grounds, killing civilians. Is this okay because they struck first? I don't know. How about Israel deleting the video they claim showing the Jihad rocket hit the hospital? They did sound analysis. I'm not going to pull up all of those stories. But there was a high-level man in one of a guy who went to Bibi's wedding, claiming taking credit. Israeli Air Force struck a Hamas terrorist base inside a hospital in Gaza. Multiple number of terrorists are dead. So then why did they all of a sudden they pulled that back if they didn't actually do it? That's another thing. Let's keep going. Never forget, Israel told you bomb the Gaza hospital and deleted their post. Here it is again. So that the internet, these things never die. But then let's continue. Here it is, Brian, which we're getting to. Israel told Gaza residents to flee to Egypt for safety, but then they appear to have bombed the lone border crossing for their escape. Now, I do not know if this, I can't necessarily verify this. Again, it's all fog of war, but it seems like it's always this thing. Oh, they blew up a hospital. Oh, it's because there were terrorists there and they had weapons there. Oh, they had to blow up this border because, they had underground. They can't bring the medical trucks in because it must be Hamas and Hezbollah sneaking in weapons. Or, oh, now we can't go over the border because there were tunnels down there and they were smuggling in there. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But those are reports emerged to suggest immediately after telling 2 million people that they had to get out of there and go to Egypt, they have bombed this border crossing. That's the only place where they could go. So maybe they were smuggling weapons and equipment in the tunnels, but we don't entirely know. But just how convenient. Or are they going to have to stay there? And according to the Hamas, yes, they're talk about Israel saying that they're human animals. So there is some nasty stuff on both sides. Anyway, so that was part of that story. Okay, here we go. It's from Ben Shapiro again. Hamas won't allow civilians to evacuate because they know that if they do, Israel will then bomb the network of terror tunnels they have built beneath civilian areas. Israel must take out those tunnels before a ground incursion or risk the lives of thousands of its soldiers. So, who do you believe?
Well, if I were to just guess based on the last 3 shows we've done and the articles you've chosen, I'm guessing you would never believe Israel about a single thing.
No, they
if I
could.
were being honest about it.
At this point, they've lied so many times that I don't believe a lot of things that they say. And that does not mean that I support Hamas in any way. And I've also, you're on record, I've said it several shows, I would invite all of the even Zionist Jews into America. We can keep everybody safe.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. No,
Okay.
Antarctica. Like, let's just find an uninhabited space. Let's turn it into paradise.
No, because you're trying to put words in my mouth, right?
Well, no, that's what I'm suggesting.
Right. You're suggesting to move all the Jews to Antarctica?
I'm spitballing here. I got ideas that rattle in my head and I say them out loud and we hash it out. And some of them are obviously ridiculous and some of them are thought-provoking and interesting. Some of them I actually believe, but I leave it up to the viewer to figure out which ones of those exactly are going on in my head.
Okay, well, let's twist
devil's
it.
Advocate-y.
Okay, well, let's play one that could expose the propaganda on the other side. This one's from Breaking 911. European intelligence official says the death toll at the Al-Ali Baptist Hospital is in the range of 10 to 50 people, not hundreds. As
okay, so that was my version of the story. That's my understanding of what's going on, but I could be wrong.
The blast was caused by misfired Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket. And
that's the story I thought had been like verified at this point, certified, if you will. Is it a video for him to say? I'll shut up.
No, I don't. Well, we can pull this. I haven't actually even watched this one, but here we go.
AFP, where EU official.
Of course, it's not going to work. Why would it work?
Yeah, it does that. We know the routine. It does the reset. It'll get going there. Follow Blake
news
on
coming out of AFP, where EU official has said that it is their understanding.
Yes, thank you.
Understanding that the number of casualties that occur.
Well, maybe.
Anyway, let's just. We get it. He's basically saying. So let's just say that it's Hamas propaganda.
10 to 50 casualties. Hamas did this.
Yeah, not 500 people. Everything's intact, and it was just an explosive that went off in the parking lot. The hospital's fine. and that maybe, let's just say, maybe Hamas just made it up to get sympathy from the world, and that should be condemned absolutely. So to get everybody worked up into Israel blowing up a hospital, if it's not true, that's lies on their side, and they're just as held. They need to be held accountable, just like anybody else, just like Benny Boy, BB's bitch.
And once again, it's whether it's 10 or 50 people, it's too many. And whether it's 40 babies or 0 babies or 3 babies, it's too many. This stuff needs to stop. And there are people in DC, Blake, pivoting to this next story. There's a lot of people that are calling for a ceasefire. Oh, the bully came in and punched him in the nose, and they ran to the teacher and said, "He's going to hit me." Yeah, Billy, you just blasted him in the face. What do you expect? So spare me some of the crocodile tears a little bit, Billy. You just instigated all of this shit, but now there's people in DC.
We played devil's advocate here. So let's just say Gaza were the nicest people in the world, and nothing ever happened, and they never shot any rockets, never committed a single thing of violence. Do you think they would be living like better off? Do you think Israel at a certain point would go, "Wow, you guys are so great. You guys have been so kind. We should open this whole thing up and you guys can do whatever you want, or let's double your land"? Do you think that they would be rewarded somehow? I mean, do you think they just get pushed, and they're getting just poked and poked? Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. You're in this smaller land. Somebody shoots a few rockets, and then boom, they level the neighborhood and say, "See, that's what they get because they can't play nice with us."
Well, that's
what it seems like it happens.
A slaughter of 1,400 isn't a couple of bottle rockets.
Right? Yep. Now gloves are off. That gives them permission to do whatever they want. They can turn it into a parking lot.
So let's talk about Capitol Hill.
Brian, you're in LA where you were into a neighborhood where sometimes we had police helicopters, and certain times
those days ended with a Y.
Right. Yes, you had neighbors that were occasionally did bad things towards cops. So what would happen if they decided to, shoot a couple of rockets off and did some damage, but nobody got hurt, but they could have gotten hurt and it was dangerous? Does that give the police permission to just start, launching like serious missiles and blowing up buildings, including yours, because you live there, because you have some crazy neighbors that got out of control and did some bad things? Is that justifiable? And you can move out, right? But there's nowhere for you to go because your neighbors don't, nobody else wants to have you.
Why do my other neighbors not like me?
Is it your job to police the people that are doing bad things? Right.
Why do my other neighbors not like me though either? It's not just Israel's the bad guy.
That's a good question. I don't know exactly the answer to all of
Jordan, Egypt, they don't want to have anything to do with this. They need to take some accountability with that.
Well, they're taking the refugees. They're trying to until Israel,
I don't think that they are.
Area. Yeah.
Not to any significant numbers is my understanding, but let's correct it. If that is untrue, are they taking all of them in and just being gracious, and they love their neighbors? But let's talk about Hamas supporters that stormed the Capitol, Blake. Yeah. I believe that they have a word for that now, and it's called an insurrection. Right?
Okay. I hope you were putting up some of the great comments while I was ranting on the other side there.
Do you want to do comments? Because I got someone that's like, "Thanks, I've been waiting for this story. I'm just trying to get to the storming of the Capitol." I don't have an article pulled up.
Brian, you got to make sure you get to highlight some of these great comments that we have in here, because this has been a delightful agree to disagree show.
Let's pause and go through the comments. Highlight the ones that you feel were the most thought-provoking.
I read all these. Blake, your description of homes, lands taken by others was something a Sedona remote viewer saw last month. It's hard to know when an RV. I don't know exactly what that's all entails, but I saw some of the buzzwords that I was looking for. But there's some interesting stuff. Jocelyn's always got some interesting information. I don't entirely know what's going on in Sedona. Brian says, if someone came into your house and you had to kill to defend yourself, would it be justified? It's interesting because I was just kind of mentioning that, trying to give Brian an analogy of living in Gaza or LA. Oh, Timothy
kind of like
says
if I was at a music
fake.
concert and I was getting attacked, should I be able to
Right.
get the people that did that so they don't do it to anybody else? Absolutely.
All right. Well, we have Timothy
Defend
says
your life,
Blake,
absolutely.
but I don't know exactly the context because that could have been from 15 minutes ago. What do we have? Sydney pled guilty. I trust her 100%.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, we're coming out. Let it rip on Shapiro. Let's see. Brian, that's a fantasy land. Take a hit. Okay, Brian, take a hit. Take a shot. Drink.
I got water.
Take a rip. Take a rip off the old vape. All right, yeah. All right. I'll wait till after the show. All right. War is disgusting.
Are these our best comments? I thought we had some really great ones. Yes.
No, Brian, I didn't get to go through them because I was looking at articles. I was going through all of the Twitterverse and all of that stuff.
The discussion does seem.
We do have some great viewers, and they do have some really good stuff here. Religious pioneers, but let's see. So, Brian, I don't know if you can talk while I can post some of these things, or maybe I can talk and then you can post these things. Stop trusting the media. Stop being reactive and triggered. That would be great. People like to get emotional and reactive before all of the facts are in.
And it happens the same whether it's Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, all of these stories. We don't know anything in the first 72 hours. We just don't. What does Jocelyn say there? That was a lot of words.
Right.
They are tired of Muslims who can't get along with those that don't believe in what they believe. U.S. doesn't tolerate groups acting like this in the 1400s. Arab countries don't want war over religion.
Yeah.
Why the heck is the West taking all?
Brian. Sorry, I'm posting too many. Brian, stop pivoting off of Blake's point. I try to hold Brian's feet to the fire just to get him to just give 1 inch and say, you know what, maybe Israel did do some bad things, but no, I don't. We haven't broken them yet, so you still might get a position at the Daily Wire, and we'll see.
I think we were talking about
you won't be blackballed from the Glenn Beck program.
I think we were talking about a peaceful Abraham Accords situation brokered by Trump until Hamas terrorists slaughtered 1,400 Israelis. I think that's where our pivot point is. No, I haven't found a reason to talk about both sides there. They were existing. They were peaceful. The Abraham Accords were working until those assholes did what they did, and now the response is happening.
But do you think that was allowed to happen so that it could be a power grab from Netanyahu? And we did play that from Charlie Kirk. And then how do you justify that there was a stand down in 6 hours from the most surveilled land, including after they were warned? So if Charlie Kirk is right, and they're trying to get rid of Netanyahu, that's a big time power grab that was just done. And why not just kill a few hundred people at a concert? That's easy.
1,400.
1,400. Well, there was 700. Right?
The number is 700, but it's 1,400, I believe.
1,400. All right.
Once again, the numbers don't really count because we can't trust any war propaganda. The number one thing is that we can't trust any of this propaganda. That's pretty much the gist of it, Blake. But yeah, I do want to get to the Capitol. If you have a
yeah, absolutely.
If we want to talk about it, because
I think it
seems like we saw an insurrection from Hamas supporters.
Yeah, it sure did appear that way. There's some interesting optics from that. So let me see if I can find a story about that one. I know there are some. And
yeah, Blake, to answer that question, I mean, anybody who's pulling puppet strings to cause mass casualty events, be it in the Gulf of Tonkin or in Manhattan, New York, or in Israel at a music festival, all of that stuff is abhorrent, and all of that stuff has been documented generation over generation. And those people who are pulling those puppet strings, yes, they absolutely need to be held to account, because those are the interests that have been driving this type of conflict since time immemorial, and it is past time that we put an end to it.
All right. Well, fair enough. So let's, here's this particular article. Got terrorist sympathizers storming Capitol. Conservatives want to know how many will be handed 20-year prison terms. Storming a government building is perfectly fine if you are supporting Hamas. So we have the pro-Palestinian sympathizers storming the U.S. Capitol, demanding a ceasefire between the Hamas terrorists in Gaza and the wonderful, loving people of Israel. Okay, I made that part up. But it's interesting how he frames that. Hamas are terrorists, and then, just Israel. Prompting conservatives to wonder how many of them will be handed 20-year prison sentences.
Okay, real quick, though, just a clarifying point. Hamas are terrorists, right? They are.
I can't really think of anything good. I'm not supporting Hamas or Zionists or Nazis.
But the Zionists just want to exist as they are, and they're being attacked, and you can't support that?
Well, it's a kind of a different thing because it's a different sort of twisted part of the religion. And again, these aren't the Hebrews of the Old Testament. These are, I think a lot of them are like Trotskyites. They're like Russian Jews that never had anything to do with that land. But then like, oh yeah, we want a homeland. Yeah, we'll take that. Yeah, let's put them let's stick it in Jerusalem. So there's more to that whole story. But, again, I wouldn't mind if they could get along, which they're not. I'm not even saying that they're all to blame, but they certainly instigate a lot of things. And they have committed a lot of war crimes over the years. And I don't just blindly support them.
So if a American city was attacked, we woke up to that news, and they killed 1,400 with these sleeper cells overnight. They had a purge. You would say, well, America's gotten involved in foreign conflicts. This is just coming home to roost. This is just, what did Ron Paul say? It's the blowback. It's the birds coming home to roost, and that we deserved the attack on Nashville. Like, that's, of course, buildings were exploded and car bombs, and it was just shooting fish in a barrel. They had positions all over, and the U.S. brought it on themselves. Nashville deserved this because people in power did some things over decades. I bet you might have a different energy there.
It's potential. I mean, we did get attacked on 9/11, right? But I wasn't really pro-war. I wasn't like, oh, we have to go to, we got to go to Afghanistan to get, the Osama bin Laden or the actual perpetrators, which I think were actually probably more within our own government, the Dick Cheneys of the world, or the Trotskyite, what's his name, Bill Kristol, or the Project for the New American Century, the Cheneys, the Rumsfelds of, pushing for the Patriot Act and the endless war on terrorism and the manufactured, weapons of mass destruction that were never in Iraq. Yeah, there was a lot of issues I had with that, or going over to Afghanistan to guard the opium fields, stuff like that. It's not about just getting rid of the attackers. It's just getting occupying force over there. So, yes, those were some really awful wars. So not necessarily. So it kind of really depends on the circumstances. But I never really believed 9/11 from the get-go. So I was always deeply skeptical. And it always seemed like it was a stand down and allowed to happen, like Pearl Harbor, for example.
Or Tower 7, pull it.
Yeah, see, the three play, and then just the stand down of Cheney while they attacked everything. So I don't know, or whether they fired a missile into the Pentagon, or whether it was a plane, or what have you. Something doesn't seem right. But anyway.
All right. So what's the takeaway from this? What do we? I mean, the squad's involvement, the lack of
I condemn the squad recognition.
Are they all going to get rounded up like we saw from the January 6th mostly peaceful protest?
Yeah, see, I don't necessarily agree. If people were vandalizing or doing awful things towards police or something like that, then they should be looking at some time, whether it's jail or probation or community service or what have you.
People like the shaman that just walked around, they should be back in their merry way instead of with an ankle bracelet and a criminal record.
Yes, yeah, I don't believe in this whole since they set the precedent of targeting their political opponents and putting them in gulags in these disgusting environments and held without charges. No, I don't think we do that in America. So if there are a few people that were involved in some serious stuff, then they should.
But they told us for 3 years, simply walking inside the Capitol was serious stuff.
Yeah, and that's wrong. So two wrongs don't make a right.
Consistency makes things right.
Yeah, but I don't agree with the bad law and bad precedent and holding people without charges. That is not an American thing to do.
No, well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying charge them.
They did it to us, right?
No, I'm saying charge them immediately to 20-year terms, and then overturn all of them and let them out, all of them.
Well,
if they're non-violent,
that'd be fine. Yeah, as long as they're not
sometimes
violent.
you have to take the thing to its logical conclusion so they can see it on the other foot so that it can get overturned.
If that's what it takes and it's temporary, then I guess that would be okay with that. So if they're going to spend 30 days in the pokey, whatever, and then, okay, now we're going to reverse and get all of the nonviolent J6 people out. Yes, I'd be okay with that.
So do we have some good takes on this one? Like I saw this MGT video or a TG video was pretty interesting.
Here it is. I've got it right here. Here it is. Marjorie Taylor Greene calls on the Capitol Police to arrest the Gaza protesters, calling them insurrectionists as large numbers of protesters stand outside the Capitol. Here we go. It's only 12 seconds. Let's hope it runs.
Arresting these people. This is an insurrection. Throw these people out. Like, what is happening? This is going to be arresting these people. This is an insurrection.
That looks like a peaceful protest to me. I don't know. I didn't see all of it. But did I see a lot of violence? Not really.
My understanding is that disrupting an official congressional proceeding was a threat to our democracy. Isn't that the exact same shit they told us for 3 years, Blake?
Yes.
3 years nonstop.
Right.
Pulling a fire alarm or doing this. Disrupting an official congressional proceeding is a crime punishable by 20 years.
Yeah, which I don't agree with. And so they're going to do that here.
So that we could overturn all of it.
Yeah, and I'm deeply disappointed again with Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is
that disappoints you?
Yes.
People breaking into the Capitol to disrupt the official proceedings. That's totally fine.
Well, I thought she was on the side of peaceful protesters on January 6th, but now there's protesters from a group she doesn't like. So now they're calling them insurrectionists, and they have to be, they got to call the cops on them. I don't know. I don't know the extent of all the damage, if there was any. I don't know exactly what all happened. So I will say that I don't know. So what do you think, Brian?
I mean, arrest them all. Like, we've spent 3 years arresting peaceful protesters. Finish it. Keep going. Right. You're only going to go after the conservatives or the libertarians, really. No, you have to go after them. Same punishments. I don't get it.
No, there shouldn't have been punishments on the J6 people. I mean, there should have for like the ones that were actually violent or, attacking cops or something. Violent, yes. Violence or stealing, vandalism, stuff like that. You should get in trouble for stuff like that. And I would agree with that. Anybody that was involved in that at the rally yesterday, yes, they should also face something. But I don't think 20 years in a gulag is ridiculous.
We were told this is dangerous. We were told this is a threat to our democracy.
Yeah. Which
okay.
I didn't agree with it. And so now you want me to agree with it now because these people went on a protest?
Either we're arresting people or we're not.
So you think we should go in and arrest all of these, anybody that was in that circle there? So all of these people that are in this circle, we should get their identities on camera and put them on the FBI list and start arresting them one by one. They should all be a pre-dawn raid, and they should have 40 armed agents come and arrest them. and throw them in a DC gulag without charges. Is that what you think should happen?
I mean, that's the precedent. That like either that's what
precedent.
happened or it's not.
Go along with the precedent, even if the precedent is wrong. You want to go along with it because hey, they started it, so now that's the rules. But you're saying it because then their side will say, hey, that's messed up. We shouldn't do that. Let's just let everybody go, which would be great. That would be fine.
That's my point exactly. That's my point exactly.
If that's leverage and that would work, then that's fine. If that's what needs to be.
I mean, this was a potentially dangerous situation for the members of Congress, right? That's what we were told.
Maybe. Yeah. It was. They had to run. Yeah.
Yeah. And MTG, she was barricaded up. She was boxed in and had people screaming in her face. And they didn't even arrest these people. Like, there's no continuity here. There's no balance. There's no law if it's not applied equally.
Right, but the law was not applied equally on J6 people. They were targeting political opposition.
So what's come of this? Why were so few arrests made? Are they expecting more of this at the Capitol? Has security been beefed up? We have other people weighing in on it, chiming in. Like, what's the general consensus? Is it a big nothing burger or it's a big WTF moment?
I don't know what comes what comes next. If there's going to be more, we shall see. We probably will. So maybe they'll have to send the what they didn't do in J6 was this, send out some National Guard troops. Maybe just put 500 of them out there as a deterrent so they don't actually enter the building. But if they do want to stage a peaceful protest outside, they are certainly more than welcome to.
Yeah, remember when DC had an open air prison erected when they put chain link fence around the Capitol?
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah,
an open air apartheid state right there in Washington D.C. Brought to you by Joe Biden and his cronies, his henchmen. So, all right, so that's all we got with this one. Just kind of
that's all we got.
A big brouhaha. All right, let's go to this one. Joe Biden. Agree or disagree, Blake? He's running out of energy and he should refrain from running in 24.
Yeah, I am going to have to agree with that, obviously. So why don't we pull up the story? Big shocker. Big shocker. There's a few of them, but let's, where to start? How about they're scared to let him talk. Must see. You got the Biden lackey John Kirby looks freaked out as Grandpa Joe faces media to take questions. And that was a bad look. It's both him. And I'm not going to skip this one. It's not that great as a must see. This video I do like. This is from Sean A. I think he was part of Project Veritas for a minute. He says, wait, what? Joe Biden says he goes to events, stays 3 or 4 hours, and answers all the questions. This dude, Mr. Bunker Magoo, how embarrassing. Yes, it's like Grandpa. This doesn't make any sense. And then you've got, both Kirby here of the Pentagon, and then you've got Anthony Blinken, little beta boy, standing behind him here. Look, his little eyes out of the closet, and you've got KJP there. But this is such a bad look. This is the leader of the free world. This is the president of the United States.
Virtually every mass shooting, every circumstance where large number of people have been victimized and lost, I've spoken with them. I learned a long time ago.
These are all their handlers, like just freaking out, like, oh my God, please, Joe, don't say anything embarrassing.
Judo will learn in their life. When someone's going through something that is beyond their comprehension, they've ever thought they'd have to go through. If they see someone who they think understands, or maybe they're through something not the same but similar, it gives them some sense of hope.
Well, this does not give me a sense of hope. I can't believe that this guy is, we're actually calling him the president of the United States. There was a couple other videos where he had that same level of energy, like he was, falling asleep in his meetings with Israel. And this is more of the same. So he doesn't have it. And like you say, you see all the handlers, they're all worried. They're there just ready to swoop in at a moment's notice as soon as he goes off the rails, because he's, absent-minded and he's not on script. That's a dangerous place to be. But they're showing you how much effort has to go in to prop up this puppet president.
Did you hear the clip where he said that Putin should be put down?
I did not, but I'm sure. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, obviously.
And if you type that into X, put Putin down or Putin put down, then Putin responded and said, he really should have learned better than to talk like that. Like it's like we're escalating things really ridiculously. By we, I mean they. I suppose Blake. Here's a fair take to anybody that thinks I need a bib. Because I'm too much. My opinions one way or another. I guess people like you and I are no more Perhaps people like you and I are no more represented by people like Joe Biden and Barack Hussein Obama than the people of Gaza are represented by the people in Hamas. But there's a lot of people that quietly support, and you saw it all across the country. Even Black Lives Matter putting up, their what are those planes called? Those bike planes?
I'm not sure.
Paragliders.
Okay, yeah.
So some really ugly colors are coming out. So I think there's a lot more quiet supporters that pretend they don't support Hamas than they actually do. No, it's just pro-Palestine. Bullshit. I call bullshit on a lot of them. I don't know how many, but there's at least 5% of them that are totally peeing on your leg and telling you that it's raining. But yeah, I fully admit that since people like Joe Biden have nothing to do with representing people like you and I can understand how some people that are murderous psychopaths in Hamas don't represent other people of that group. Which is why it's important that you kind of work in your community yourself, and that you have a little bit of accountability as well. If you have gangs or terrorist organizations and it's either your community or it's theirs. And some of that has to fall on the shoulders of the people that claim that they're not being represented. I think there's something to that, whether it's cartels or gangs or Hamas. The neighborhoods sort of have to develop their own identity and not get taken over. The mob, fill in the blanks. But yeah, Joe Biden out of energy. It's not even that he's out of energy. I mean, he's out of life. He's on, the clock. I can hear the clock tower. I know the bells are ringing. I don't know how close to the end of it, but I hear them ringing. This is really absentee leadership. But that's exactly what you need when you want to flood America with 10 million potential sleeper cells ready to go bonkers. And that will be your legacy as the usurper and the traitor that you might be. So no, him not running in 2024 sounds pretty great, but does that mean we'll get Michelle? Does that mean that we're going to get Newsom? Does that mean we're going to get RFK Jr.? RFK Jr. and a Democrat? Democrat will probably pull 35%. RFK Jr. probably gets 65 by the time it's all said and done. Absolute slaughter by Trump in that case. That's my guess.
Perhaps.
Right, what's this last
one? I found a video on Biden and Putin. This is hilarious. And I have seen this. I did retweet it a couple nights ago when I first saw it. It is bizarre, but it's also funny. I don't know where it came from.
You sent me one, and then the other's still grayed out. Do you want me to double click? Or do you want me to play it?
I'll try playing it, but if you can't, or if I can't play it, then you will have to back it up. It's a quick video. It's reminiscent of, it's kind of some old comedy video of Putin and Biden. Here we go. All right, Brian, you were going to have to run it because
that's AI, right? That's AI.
Yeah,
That's
it's
silly.
I'm pretty sure it's AI, unless it's
No, it's
Photoshop or
AI.
something. But yeah, but you have to play this. So
Here we go. Allegedly, here we go. No volume. Going after the laser pointer. That's pretty good. Kick him right out the window. So goofy. No, Blake, I think that's real. The balloon part.
it is 100% real. AI.
What, a Smurf outfit? Could you imagine Biden in a dojo? Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so he's old, and he's a traitor. Okay, last topic of the show here, Blake.
Oh, wait. Let me pull up one other quick thing on that because Brian, we didn't get covered. Do you think that's a mask on Biden? Real quick.
I mean, he's so nicked and tucked. And look, there's theories that there are Fetterman body doubles, that there are Eminem and Britney Spears clones of these people. Is it a mask? I've seen different versions of what they say are Trump and Fetterman that to me do not look identical to each other. That's a fact. I've seen things where parts of his face do look like they're peeling off, like he's a robot underneath or a lizard person. Like, yes, I see that, but he's also a decrepit old sniffer and showerer as well. So, you want to talk about calling people animals. I call Joe Biden an animal, the one that raises his dogs to bite everybody, the one that raised Hunter to be an out of control, degenerate crackhead, grifter, inside trader. Joe Biden showering with Ashley, and come on, man, touching and making all those ladies over the years feel so uncomfortable. Like, there's nothing about this guy that isn't creepy, including his melting face that looks like Peter Griffin's nutsack chin.
All right, well, good points. And yes, as much as I would like to believe that there's masks and there's doubles, I think we might be able to debunk this. This is an anonymous dentist. Long story, but I've followed on crypto Twitter. But according to him, he says, yes, it is his. He'll never be an oral health account with the occasional spicy political take, but he is going to dispute one of the dumbest conspiracies about Joe Biden wearing a mask. And since he was a senator, he's seen all that. But since he can see the teeth, he says he has the same shitty crowns on top with the poor gum contours, bulky square shapes, and two noticeably whiter crowns on his lower front teeth that give him a nibbling rat appearance. These pictures are from varying times in his political career because they show, the earlobes. He does look a lot different than he did 10, 15 years ago.
He looks like a Biden brother. He doesn't even look like the current version of him. He looks like one of his brothers.
Yeah,
like James, is that the one? That's
like
the ringmaster of everything.
Yeah, but notice when he's like Senator Joe in the lower right, he does look a lot different. But according to this dentist, he says if you think Joe Biden's wearing a mask, get some help. It's not a stunt double or had a master ceramist mimic his teeth. You don't understand dental forensics.
Kenneth is saying that Biden said, "I don't like pudding. I mean Putin." Yeah, I think he does like his pudding.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're sending in the clones there. Thank you for that.
Anyway, I don't think so. That's an interesting take. So somebody that could really, I've seen him do those takes before too. Is you can really, if you're into that dentistry for 20 years, you'll notice people's teeth. And so if
forensic dentistry.
Yeah.
Well, in the sports collectible world, there are authenticators who try to find game-worn jerseys, and they look for all the tiny little characteristics that, like, yes, this was the jersey that was worn in the 1997 NBA Finals in Utah, the closeout game. And you're like, oh wow. But I mean, to actually authenticate stuff like that, it sometimes gets really wonky.
Cologne and the pheromones. Yeah, you'd have to get like a bloodhound or something that would be able to.
It's usually just photographs, but yeah.
Wow. Oh, okay.
But there have been fakes. There have been fakes that have been done.
I bet there's a lot of money in that. Absolutely, there's going to be fakes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about fakes, Blake.
Yeah.
Hey, Blake, any fake? So Sidney Powell, is she a grifter and a turncoat that will take down Trump? Do you agree or disagree that she's a grifter and turncoat who's going to take down Trump? What's the latest? Agree or disagree? Where's she at?
I know I wrote that question and I don't have a real good answer for it, but I did think it was, I love the phrasing of it.
Yeah, because you don't have to read it.
Well, no, I wish I knew more on that, but I mean, it is breaking news, and she is going to cut a deal, and she is going to testify against Trump. So we had high hopes for her. So I'll just say maybe agree. And I mean, people have suggested that she was a grifter for a long time, that she was trying to get in this and make a name for herself. And then she was supposed to release the Kraken, but she never did. And now she is cutting a deal and going to be working against Trump. So let's take a look at this. Double click action. Here we go. Sidney Powell pleads guilty in Georgia case in exchange for reduced charges and will testify to avoid jail time in the Georgia RICO case. So DA Fannie Willis hit Trump and 18 others with the RICO and conspiracy charges. Sidney Powell is charged with a bunch of this stuff: conspiracy to commit election fraud, computer theft, commit computer trespass, computer invasion of privacy, conspiracy to defraud the state. But here she's going to serve 6 years probation, pay a $6,000 fine. That ain't so bad. And then write an apology letter to the state of Georgia, according to the AP. So really, it doesn't sound, that terrible. But who knows? Maybe if depending on what she's knows, and if she's cutting a deal, she's also going to testify. Or was it St. Scott Hall? No, she's going to be the second person to plead guilty in the Georgia case. And last month, Scott Hall, the bail bondsman, is pleaded guilty. He will testify against the rest of the defendants in the case. And we shall see what comes out of that. But yeah, we had such high hopes. And here's Ron Filipkowski, who's a deranged leftist neocon, but I like to roast on Twitter occasionally. But he does make his points against, the bad people that deserve it, or some of the other mutual enemies. I don't know what to think here, but he is calling this out on Sidney Powell, explaining how she was going to release the Kraken and put everyone in jail with her new evidence of how Hugo Chavez stole the election from Trump. And it was all about the going after the Dominion. We had high hopes. We thought something was going to be done. She was going to be one of these heroes along with Lynn Wood, but it just never happened. So, she was on. This was on old Lou Dobbs. So she's kind of ruined her credibility. I don't know what to think, but just been disappointing. And I don't know exactly what to expect.
So she was hired counsel with Trump, or she was just affiliated? Like, some of the actual specifics get a little vague.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if she was actually hired or what have you. She just kind of came out of nowhere. Lynn Wood was a legitimate dude, but he's really gone off the rails in the last couple of years, and I don't know what to make of him. But
so I mean, what did she even plead guilty to? Like, she just concocted a story to lie about without proof, thinking nobody's ever going to find out. Like,
I think it's just a plea bar. Yeah, I don't know. In case she doesn't want to get into some more serious charges, so here let's.
Oh, they're all being Blake. They're all being leveraged. This isn't about Sidney Powell. It's all to smear Trump. It's all to cage.
It's all lawfare, right?
Cage President Trump until he dies in a cage, or actually, isn't it, if he's found guilty, isn't it like death sentence?
Well, if he was in long enough, yeah, he would.
No. I mean, like the actual charges in all these indictments, doesn't one of them actually carry the death penalty? I thought.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I think it's just that he would be in prison so long he would have to die.
Yeah, I mean, this is all an attempt to ruin Trump, to take him off the board. And little Ronnie DeSantis, instead of fighting for Trump, he's selling him down the river, Judas, for 30 pieces of silver. He's been promised his primetime appearance. So be damned, anybody that gets in little Ronnie D's way. That's the plan here. And then the Republicans are going to say, hey, we can't nominate this guy. He's convicted. Look, he's in jail. No, we're a party of, we need to move past this tragic national incident and just forget Trump ever existed. Yeah, he's gonna, you know what? Actually, we're gonna remand him to Mar-a-Lago, but he can't leave the property. He's effectively on lockdown at his own property because we can't put him in a jail. Like the whole jail would have to get shut down with Secret Service. You know, he has Secret Service protection for life. I mean, unless they try to Epstein him, try to John McAfee him, and just completely take him off the board, which is something I'm sure they're totally fine with, actually. But yeah, this is interesting with Sidney Powell.
Yep.
When are we going to get to hear what she says?
I don't think she's allowed to speak to the media as part of the agreement, as far as I know. She's pleaded guilty to 6 misdemeanor counts of conspiracy to commit intentional interference with performance of election duties. So she's the first member of Trump's close advisors. I don't know if she was close or she just volunteered or she knew something. I'm not 100% on some of the characters. She just was exciting for a time, and then all the Kraken stuff, and that never materialized. So she could be a fraud and a grifter. I don't know. So here's another article for the apology letter. Some restitution. And what else? Yeah, just a few of them, but they all kind of basically say the same thing. Noted conspiracy theorist pleads guilty and agrees to testify for the prosecution. This out of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
And that brings up the age-old question: can you ever believe somebody who's been threatened with, effectively a life sentence in prison herself? Can you ever trust somebody that's been heavily leveraged into saying, "Look, I'll say whatever the hell you want me to say. I just want a couple misdemeanors and I want to go home. Don't ruin my life. What do you need from me? I'll say whatever you need to say." That's not just in this case. This is every state's witness that's been turned since the beginning of these plea deals. They overcharge and they leave room to plea down. They threaten the shit out of you and they hope that you'll balk. They hope that you'll play ball, meet them in the middle. It's like, well, I don't want 3 consecutive life sentences, so I guess I'll plead guilty to something. I mean, that is the age-old question. How much can we ever trust somebody that's been turned state's evidence?
Yeah, no, I agree. But who's going to listen, especially the people that want to see Trump behind bars? Or as Deb's kind of saying, vote Walley 2024. There you go.
You're going to vote RFK Jr. Yeah. That's your homeboy.
Well, I wanted to go for RFK as a Democrat because I wanted to be, a delegate and disrupt the Democratic Party from within. I'll still probably register as an independent, and I'll still support RFK up to the election. But then I would probably go with Trump. But I do like RFK, even though I don't agree with all of it.
Deb is saying Powell is not paid by the Trump team. Getting the stink eye from Brian. Am I giving the stink eye? Well, look, we're dealing with some really awful shit. I just, as we careen and slide down this icy mountainscape into a nuclear World War III that nobody wants except for the wrong people. I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to say about it, but all right. Well, I guess we'll keep an eye on Sidney Powell and see what she has to say.
Not paid by the Trump team, not affiliated, or I don't exactly know. We'll see what Trump says about it on social. If he's allowed to comment, I don't know. they want to put the gag order on everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah, why? How did that not get in our stack? We didn't even mention that President Trump was silenced. He doesn't have a right to defend himself any more than Trevor Bauer does. Just accusation and guilty until proven innocent.
That's the way usually.
Yeah, that's the way. All right. Well, that's all we have for today, Blake. Any final thoughts?
What did we have? We forgot one with the Ricky Vaughn, Douglas Mackey, sentenced to 7 months for sharing a meme, which was sad to see. So, and it's also double standard here. So Douglas Mackey, 7 months for sharing joke memes on Twitter claiming Democrats could vote for Hillary Clinton by phone in the 2016 election.
Yeah, you can vote for her with carrier pigeon. Like, that's an age-old joke. Be sure to show up on Super Wednesday. Like,
right.
That's a joke.
He said, avoid the line, vote from home. I don't know if anybody actually thought that was real and did that and said, okay, well, I guess I already voted this year because I
but ignorant
Hillary.
How much ignorance is somebody else's fault for making a joke about it? That's an this is another topic that could have easily been our head story. This is beyond absurd. Where was the court that they found him guilty? This is a judge or a jury?
U.S. District Judge Ann M. Donnelly handed down the sentence, calling the conspiracy nothing short of an assault on our democracy.
Oh, shut up. Anybody that doesn't know what day to vote and how to do it doesn't deserve to vote. Get out of here. That's the age-old joke. It's like when you go to, I worked at Joe's Crab Shack. You'd pull into the parking lot, and on the side of the building in real big, bold letters, vividly painted on like the rustic shack-looking door, or on the wall of the building, it says free crab tomorrow.
Yep.
Free crab tomorrow. And then you pull up tomorrow looking for your free crab. What does it say, Blake?
Free crab tomorrow.
I mean, these are jokes. They actually want to punish this guy. They actually did. Just say you have to go sit in a cage for 7 months and think about what you did. That is, if the comedy world can't get together, the Jimmy Fallons and the Jimmy Dores and the Jimmy Iovines and the Jimmy, who else? Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel or what are the other
Jimmy
ones?
Dean with the sausage. If all the Jimmys can't get together and kind of rally around this, like this is a joke.
Yeah.
If we can't share jokes there's nuance to jokes. You don't get to define and determine whether a joke lands or not. A joke is a joke.
Yeah, I agree. I don't agree it's an assault on democracy, but then you've got this Christina Wong, anti-Trumper, did something similar. So should she also get 7 months? Because she basically
if they don't both get it, then none of them should get it.
So, hey, Trump supporters, skip poll and text your vote. Text votes are legit, or vote tomorrow. Yeah.
See, that one actually feels way more deceptive than joking.
There's also zero evidence that was ever produced showing anybody was actually tricked out of voting.
So if there's no victim, there should be no crime. Right.
But they want to make an example. These people were effective. Ricky Vaughn had a big following. I remember that. But they don't like that. They hate the meme lords. They hate anybody who's for Trump, and they want to make an example of them. So
Kenneth B, he says, soon he'll be doing stand-up in a FEMA camp. So there's that.
Yeah.
That's insane. Well, yeah, Kenneth B is asking a gag order. That's just S&M. All right, well, yeah, you just got to know the safe word. I guess you got to hum a safe tune. What's a Laverne and Shirley song?
Oh,
Gagging it our way. All right, that got weird. Thanks for that.
It's all right.
All right. Douglas Mackey.
We've been on the air for 2 hours.
I declare that the comedians of planet Earth must instantly unite and rally around Douglas Mackey's 7-month sentence. We need to have this, when the celebrities put their panels together, they do these little impromptu videos. They're in black and white. I know that it was something against Trump, so they're not allowed to say it. But come on, comedians of the world, unite and call for this to be immediately overturned. Jokes are jokes. That's just absurd to me. And
Make
if not,
America
then make sure you get
funny
the other
again.
lady.
Right.
All right. Now that's all I got, Blake. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the only other story that we missed, and I don't know if we were going to cover.
We missed a ton of stories, including the House Speaker. No speaker yet?
Yeah. So no, it's going to be Patrick McHenry. He's going to be there for the next 3 months because the obstructionist rhinos, they're fighting back. They want to teach us a lesson. We got rid of their guy McCarthy, and now they're going to punish us by not letting Jim Jordan win.
Well, they get to vote 20 times, right? 30 times? They can just keep going?
No, I think they can, but they realized they weren't going to get the votes. And so they just announced, so Jim Jordan just withdrew. Thank you, Brian. And then they're going to pledge to support Ally McHenry as the interim speaker for the next 3 months. Here's all of your rhinos who decided not to cave in. So, and then we've got, Rhino Bacon of Nebraska says Jim Jordan is done, needs to withdraw. Hope that McCarthy detractors learn a lesson. So, did you learn a lesson, Brian?
No. The lesson is get rid of McCarthy because he's a liar. And he's holding potentially exculpatory information about President Trump getting framed on January 6th. And we want to know the participation levels of the undercover agents who are committing these acts. We want to let the innocent people who were nonviolent out. Let them out. Kevin McCarthy was holding all that up. He lied. He promised he was going to release that footage. I was hopeful that we were going to get to go in the skiff and view the footage, maybe even copy and use some of that footage for some stories that could have been potentially exculpatory, just like Tucker Carlson's that debunked the Brian Sicknick lie that he was killed that day, which he absolutely was not. To debunk the lie that the shaman was violent and an insurrectionist. He's just a dude walking around and praying for people. He walked in, said some stuff, and left. He was instantly taken out of jail and remanded to home custody or something. There's too many people that are sitting in there for BS. That's urgent. That has to happen. That was promised. So, yeah, deuces. I'd learn a lesson. Yeah, how about follow through with what you say you're going to do? I know it's a novel concept in Washington, D.C., but for the love of God, just do what needs to be done.
I hear you.
All right.
But I guess they disagree and they want to teach us a lesson. So,
okay, cool.
Unfortunately, and we'll see if Jordan gets in or maybe if they'll present somebody else. I don't know who's going to emerge that people are going to agree on.
What happened to Trump? Did he get nominated? Did they take the votes? How many votes did he have?
No.
Put him to the vote. Let's see who needs to be removed from Congress in this next election. Put them to the vote and let the people determine who they want.
Yeah. Maybe, because they're our representatives, right? They got to do what the people want. But then they get to Washington and they want to do their own thing.
All right.
So they need to be held accountable.
Well, after 2 hours of your day, just for us, says Deb, you two rock. Thank you very much. After doing that, doing it our way.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and thanks for all the great comments. You guys are awesome.
And thanks for allowing Blake and I to just hash this stuff out. And we agree to disagree a little bit here. And I think there's shadowy puppet figures behind the scenes of a lot of the things we're seeing. And really, we're just it's a lot like Charlottesville. Remember, that was a fake organization that said, hey, we're going to rally for one thing, and then it turned into something else. And then they brought the protesters and the cops were there and they funneled them right together so that they would have no choice but to fight each other, like taking a scorpion and a tarantula in a cage and shaking it up and watching them fight. That's what they do on a global level. So, I mean, I totally get that that's what's happening. So with a grain of salt are all of my opinions, but the powers that be have never been caught in this amount of lies before. It's never been so clear when we're being fed BS. In war, we may never know what the real stories are. We have to understand some of that. But in the absence of knowing everything, we do our best to try to deliver it to you accurately. And if we're able to debunk some of this stuff, we will gladly, willingly do so, because that's just the type of people we are, Blake. So follow people like Blake on Twitter X. He's at TV's Blake Walley, and his website is The Next Level News. My name is Brian Engelman. That's Engelman. Deb says banter is king. Nice. Banter is king. I prefer banter. But follow the Agree to Disagree show and the new American media in all of the places, because the old American media has failed you. So I'm going to be signing out for today. All of you in the chat rooms, you guys are fantastic. Much obliged. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
We love you. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Look forward to next show. All right.
Till then. Peace
All right,
out,
guys.
everyone.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.